Well, hello, everyone. This is Wilson Cole, president of Adams, Evans, and Ross Backdoor Hiring Solutions and ELOC Global. And I am joined by our general counsel and lovely daughter, Samantha. Samantha, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing fine, doing fine. Sam, I want to take a few minutes because I'm always shocked at the conversation sometimes I have with our medical staffing and recruiting clients where they just don't realize that they're owed $25, $30, $40,000, and they don't think that there's anything they could do to collect. And this is, with our backdoor hiring software, which finds, misplacement fees, but even if they find it on their own, the conversation typically starts something like, Wilson, I had a guy 6 months ago. They said they got his name from another recruiter and they hired him, but there's really nothing I can do. I am shocked that they don't dig just a little below the surface, because we had one just last week where the argument, and this was on a medical recruiter, they said, well, he was presented 4 months earlier by another recruiter. And I said, well, A, you didn't report that to our client with some type of name clearing. So our client was working on selling this guy through there. But I'm also curious, did your client pay, because I was talking with the debtor's attorney, did your client pay the other recruiter? And he says, well, I don't think they did. I said, okay, so you're going to use an excuse that our client isn't owed because they didn't pay the other recruiter that they're using as a defense. And, here's the sad part about it for the debtor is they may very well owe both companies for that same candidate, because they have a fiduciary duty to let you know. I mean, had they told them within, 12 hours, 24 hours, hey, this guy came in from another source, it's not going to be your client. Do a little bit more digging because they may say, well, hey, we already knew about this candidate. Well, knowing about the candidate and knowing that they're looking for a job are two very different things. Samantha, from a legal aspect in that agreement, what would you like to see them have to kind of reduce down and kind of strengthen their position on those backdoor hires where they say they've got them from somebody else?
Well, I think the one thing, and this isn't even in the contract, when they say they've got them from somebody else, ask for more information. Because I can't tell you how many times I've had a collection come in that they got it from somebody else and there was nobody else.
Yep. Was there actually another recruiter they got the name from, or was there not? Don't know. They didn't pay anybody else. So,
yeah,
it may have been, from a contract, what do they need to have in that contract? I know hey, if we present him and you hire him within, 12 months, the name clearing. What are some of the things that you'd like to see in their contract from a safeguard standpoint and just a general view?
Well, I mean, you need the possessory period, because also if you're I'm seeing we're having dueling contracts on a couple of things coming in that kind of scares me, where it's like, we'll sign your contract and you'll sign ours. Then it turns into just a cluster.
Exactly. Now, for the people that don't understand what Sam's saying is that they'll sign your contract and they'll sign which are two separate contracts with two totally different series of events of how you get paid.
And, what the possessory terms are and things like that. So then you're playing this chronological calendar game of which one was signed when and when was this candidate placed. You think you're covered under your terms, but that candidate's actually covered under those terms. And so I've seen that a couple of times, and that gets complicated and is something to watch out for and make sure that you've taken care of. And then name clearance, or and I don't even like name clearance. I like even interviewing.
I said, have they interviewed? How would you word that in the contract? Had they interviewed within the last 30 days type of,
Have you actively discussed this position with the candidate in the last, 30 or 60 days, no more than 60.
Okay.
Because I've seen where they've, 4 months ago, we went to a happy hour and I talked to them that we might have a position. That's like, okay, but you didn't do anything until they were presented. Our clients set up the interviews and all of that.
Okay. So basically, what you want to see is basically a possessory period of 12 months, only one contract, preferably yours at a sign, name clearing that they have to let you know within 24 to 72 hours that this candidate had been actively in discussion within the last 60 days. And then what else, or does that pretty much cover
it? Because you don't want to add in too much. The amount of contracts I see where you start adding in too much and then you start negating things.
Okay.
Especially if you aren't having it drawn up by an attorney, it gets messy and you have unintended consequences that you may not realize.
That's a good point. Well, what I always recommend that our clients do, and if you're in the medical and staffing space, whether it's locum tenens or direct hire or traveling nurses, if somebody hires your candidate and they tell you, gee, we got their name, we knew about them, we're not going to pay you, don't take that at face value. Give us a call. You can call me at 800-452-5287. I'm at extension 6578. You can also shoot me an email, wilson@aercollections.com, and we'll go over the details with you. About a third of the time after I talk with a client, there's absolutely nothing they can do for a number of reasons. But 2/3 of the time, we get the collections in here and we get it collected. And so don't take, gee, we've gotten their name from another resource. Even if they send you over a check showing that they paid ABC company, depending on the circumstances, they may owe you both. And so just don't take that. The biggest thing is if there's somebody that has hired your candidate and you're unsure of if you're owed, pick up the phone, give us a call. Let's go over the details, take a look at your contract, and we'll give you a free evaluation. I'll typically, in most cases, I'll go through it. I can tell 99 times out of 100 if there's something owed, certainly from a collection standpoint. In the collection aspect, the bar is a little lower than if it had to go legal. I can certainly bring in members of our legal team to take a look at it as well. But if we can help you with that, 800-452-5287. I'm at extension 6578. Also, if you'd like to proactively look for backdoor hires, give me a call and we can certainly get you set up. It absolutely amazes me how much money that we find with that backdoor hiring system. Samantha, any closing statements before we wrap up this meeting?
I think that closes it out.
Thank you, guys.